Welcome along to this week's episode of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan and I'm here with Brian and Kevin. Each week we'll be taking a look at some of the endless stream of content that is delivered to us through Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Crave, Spotify, YouTube. Wherever content is delivered to people, we will be watching a chunk of it and we will then be talking about it. As a result, this is a very spoiler-heavy kind of podcast, so at a show you haven't seen, be warned, we're going to talk about the show. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast and maybe giving us a follow over on Instagram or Twitter. All of our socials are at The Endless Cast. We are starting with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier for the next 5-6 weeks, I think is what's left of it. I don't know if is it an 8 or a 6 episode run?
6.
6, okay. I'm here with Brian and Kevin, and we're going to do a little intro on the last thing I saw, which was the Suicide Squad trailer.
That's my reaction.
So Brian feels strongly.
Yeah. I just cringed through the whole thing. I think there's a kind of moment in it that sums up Gunn for me and his whole humor and his shtick, where they're on the beach talking about eating a bag of dicks.
Hilarious.
It's just this weak attempt at like snappy back and forth banter, and it's like it doesn't sound good. It's not funny, and it's weak, and it's I think it sums up Gunn. There's a couple of moments like that in Guardians where they're talking like that, and it's just like this isn't as snappy as you think. It's not fun dialogue. It's weak. It's bad. That's me. Kev, you loved it.
For Liberty. No, it looks so stiff. Like, kind of, I hate when they do it, but in the trailer, it's like, he's the funny guy, he's the edgy dark guy, she's the crazy one, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, he tries to hit the nails with these, like, kind of stereotypes almost, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know exactly what it's going to be.
Guardians,
into it, 100%.
More dick jokes, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, and like, just more like obscure characters for the most part. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to remember Super before I compare, but Super on a huge budget. I was okay with it. I remember a lot of hype around it when I saw it. I was just like, I don't see why everyone thinks it's amazing, but it's fine.
Yeah, see, I probably saw it much later, to be fair. I think I saw it on Netflix one night because I just never heard of it. And I was just like, oh yeah, okay, like I'll check this out. And I loved it. So I had no expectations of it whatsoever. I didn't hear the hype or anything like that.
I liked the moment in the trailer with Harley Quinn, you know, like the rescue attempt, and she's just there. I think Robbie does a great job with Harley. I just think she works better in small doses.
I was just going to say, yeah, I watched the Birds of Prey movie and it was a struggle. Again, I like her, I like the character, but it's just...
I think when it opened with that scene, I was like, oh, that's really good. That's funny. That's a good moment. It's like, you know, I'm prepared to have my, expectations change a bit. And then the rest of it was just like, this is fucking... Just like the guy kind of, exclaiming, oh, we got a motherfucking kai, or whatever he says, we got a kaiju. And it's just so...
Kaiju, yeah.
There's just a certain type of audience that will eat that up. Just because he said the word kaiju, is like, this is my stuff. This is my nerdy movie. And it's like, come on, we...
That'd be like Pacific Rim, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thought there as well. Like Pacific Rim sort of normalized the word kaiju, so they're sort of slotting it in around the world. It's like when you started hearing people say POTUS.
Yes, yeah.
Like this, or like designated survivor. There's certain concepts that someone introduces to the sort of pop cultural...
Like showrunner.
Language. Showrunner, yeah. There's certain stuff that works its way into the sort of global unconscious, and then you just hear it a lot.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean. Like anyone who's a fan of monster movies anyway knows that phrase or whatever. So like throwing it in there, it's like just a kind of a weak. It's pandering, basically.
Yeah.
He's nerd pandering. He's like, oh, we got a
kaiju. Sorry, the worst part of the trailer was from the horribly bad mind of James Gunn or something like that. I was just like,
the beautifully twisted or something.
The horribly twist. Yeah.
I want to balance this out because I enjoyed the trailer. I was like, hey, it's King Shark, and I don't know who Idris Elba is, but I like Idris Elba.
I like King Shark. Yeah, fair.
I guess I don't get a sense of who or what the villain is.
Starro. Did you not see the guy?
I did see Starro, actually, now that you say it. Starro's kind of a big reveal. There was a thought that Starro was the villain in the last one, you know, when the whole city was zombified, like like when people first saw that trailer of like hordes of people running after them, the thought was, oh, it's going to be Starro. And like, I wonder, did Gunn just go, well, everyone wanted it, so...
Yeah. I definitely know I could go see it and I could think it's great, you know.
I'd have to hear very, very good things about it.
Well, nobody's going to see anything for the next 5 years. You know? It'll show up on your streaming service.
HBO Max or something.
I like comics, so I want to check out stuff like that. But I didn't love Guardians of the Galaxy, and the sequel just kind of confirmed everything. Like the sequel's so weak, and it's kind of like they're so happy with the response the first one got that they kind of gave him more free reign on the second one, and it's just a weaker film because of it. It's not a great film. And it's like he did exactly the same thing. It's just pandering again. It's like, oh, Star-Lord's going to turn into Pac-Man. I laughed at the gag, but the whole film felt like it was written just so he could arrive at that point. And it's just not as funny as he thinks it is. It's not... He just seemed to rebrand himself as the guy who does edgy stuff but with heart.
Right. Just
because he made it about... And it's just like... You know, just because they're a dysfunctional family doesn't mean there's a heart at the center of this, and you're just using it as an excuse to throw in kind of crude. I don't mind crude jokes, but they're weak crude jokes. I don't think it earns them. I don't think he earns it. I dislike the guy before all that kind of Twitter stuff from 10 years ago came up. I just remember seeing him talk about scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy. And he was very determined to kind of erase the other writer's contribution to the film. And I think it's the writer I think she wrote Inside Out. So I think she has a writing credit on it, but he was so quick to kind of say that, you know, oh, this scene is because of my rewrite, this scene's because of my rewrite. And he just wanted all the kind of credit for the heart of it, you know. He was basically just kind of putting his version on it. And then the second thing was... There's so many scenes where he's pointing out like a model in the background saying, oh, that's my friend, such and such a person. And, you know, she did a kind of a longer scene in the film that I had to cut out, but it just seems like he's promising a lot of models scenes in his films and then cutting them out. And this is before all the kind of Twitter stuff came up, and I think the guy's a creep. Don't like him. You heard it here first. I think he's a creep.
I hope he's not listening. Mr. Gunn, I'll see your movies.
On the other side,
I think you suck.
I think filmmaking is a job, and you need to make whatever shitty joke that makes people laugh in the cinema and eat popcorn, and then make money for your corporate overlords and move on to the next job.
You can write good jokes. Like, that's an option.
Sure.
It is.
I could write Guardians of the Galaxy too. It's just I'd kind of write it and go, this is bad, and I'd burn it.
James Gunn didn't have that. He just made it.
That's the difference between me and him. And I said it here first.
I mean,
so, yeah.
It's always been my opinion. First draft, best draft.
Disagree.
So then the next thing is Invincible, premiered up on Amazon Prime, and I've watched all 3 episodes. Brian, you've watched 2, 3?
I've watched all 3.
You've watched all 3, and Kev's watched half of the first one, but I think we're all fairly familiar with the comic.
I was catching up with Grace and Frankie, and then I watched Big Business that has Bette Midler and the other one from Grace and Frankie. It's actually
Jane
a great
Fonda
kind of body swap. No, the cool one. They're both cool, though.
She's in The West Wing. Fritterer, what's her name?
I'm blanking on her name.
Yeah, I'm
Jill, like it's like Jill Cullen or something, or Cummins.
No.
This is bad. Lily Tomlin.
Yeah.
Tomlin. All the L's.
I watched Big Business with her. brilliant movie. It's a good body swap movie. I love a good body swap thing, you know. Except this time it was twins that got switched.
Big Business. I've never seen it.
I've seen it.
1988.
Times,
Great movie. Bette Midler.
Where is it?
Oh, it's brilliant.
Is it Prime or
Disney?
Disney. Okay.
I think it was Disney.
I got Disney. I can check that shit out.
So I'll catch up on a great Sir Frankie though, I promise.
So I got issue 1 of Invincible in back end of 2003 or early 2004 from the unsold bin at Forbidden Planet. It had a big €1 written on it in red marker. Like anything they were trying to clear, they got a red marker and they wrote on it €1 to just like devalue it and get it off their shelves. Which I have the thing somewhere, but it bothers me that they did that.
Yeah, it's not cool.
But there was a 2 or 3 new Image books in that sort of similar sort of tonal area of sort of kind of be clean, fresh, modern superhero stuff. And like what I loved about Invincible is that it kind of managed to take the archetypal stuff that we know from 60 years of Marvel and DC and give us a version of it that is straight ahead.
You see, that's exactly why I thought I'd like it. And I
same.
didn't like it. Like I
the show or
the book.
Okay.
I didn't read it until just a couple of years ago. But when I kind of saw it, I literally had the exact same expectation. It's like they've taken all these characters that are analogous to all these existing characters, but they're free from the 60 or 70 years of messy continuity,
dead weight,
and like any kind of outdated comic book ideas, you know, stuff that we kind of stuff that's just dated. And it's like it can do all of those again, but with a kind of a modern sensibility, basically. And every time I saw twist. Images from it, I was like, oh God, I really got to check that thing out. It looks so good. And then when I read it, now I've only read the first book, but it was just a very, very. It was still just a basic comic book thing, and I know it's kind of book 1, so maybe it's just trying to rope an audience in, but it just.
When you say book 1,
the trade paperback,
first 10 issues,
yeah, whatever,
first 10 issues,
and I just it really. I don't expect it to be vastly different, but it's just like, okay, you've got free reign to kind of do whatever you want with these kind of your version of these existing characters, and it just read like any other kind of for me anyway, at least. So and
well, for me it was like I can take your point, and even though like I've read 15 years worth of the book at this point, like I just bought the collecteds every year and a half and read them and enjoyed them in an afternoon, and I don't think it did anything groundbreaking, but I just think because it felt like there was a very finite amount of this and it was going to come to an end, that what happened kind of mattered, or was at least, you know, existent in that world.
And like I didn't need it to be groundbreaking necessarily. It was just the fact that I thought it would just kind of hit a bit differently, but instead it was just like, it was still just it just didn't kind of. I suppose there was a version I was writing in my head, you know, what if I was to rewrite Superman, but instead Krypton isn't destroyed and they're actually this really kind of, you know, conquering warlike race, and what would you do with that? And, you know, the longer I didn't read it, the longer I was writing this version in my head, I guess. And the version in my head was just, you know, I'm not saying I'd write that book. I'm not saying I'd write the book better, but there was a version in my head that I just kind of expected it would kind of exceed, you know.
So James Gunn and Robert Kirkman, he's coming for
your jobs, guys. You're just not fucking doing it, you know. But no, like I said, you know, like obviously if I thought it had a better idea, I'd be writing it. But I thought, you know, there's an expectation in my head, and I thought, okay, well, that's what I've got in my head, and this guy's going to do a much better version of it. And then when I was reading it, was just like, it's just not what I was kind of expecting, you know.
There's some we'll cut that fucking brain fart. There are some changes in the show that are they weren't a surprise, but I was like, oh, they did that, and like that makes perfect sense. Like in the book, his first girlfriend, Amber, it's just like another white girl, and she kind of gets fucked around a bit, and they've made Amber a black girl, and it kind of balances out some of the diversity stuff in the show a little more. His best friend makes a number of, like, 15 years ago, they were, I don't know, not cool, but like you got away with them kind of gay jokes, and throughout the course of the book he comes out, and it's like, oh cool, there's a little arc for the character, but now he's just like, let's just make him gay to begin with. I don't know why we're doing this shit. So I like that they've taken a moment to look at the source material and go, even though there's a lot of great stuff here, what they've changed I don't like. I don't hate, I don't dislike. I think they've made wise choices.
I saw the Guardians of the Globe is in the book, they're like pretty much just all white people, white men and stuff, you know. But then when you look at the show, Nightwing's Darkwing. I said Nightwing. Darkwing. War Woman, not white. The Green Ghost is a woman instead of a man.
The intro of War Woman in the comic book is like,
she's a lesbian, isn't she?
It's kind of lesbian fetishization. She wakes up in bed kind of in a tight-fitting t-shirt with her girlfriend and goes off to whatever.
Which is such a trope now as well. I'm glad they didn't go there. It's
exactly.
Like, a tough woman's got to be gay.
They just went...
and let's fetishize her too.
So they went...
it looked like Frank Miller. In the book is drawn like Frank Miller, I think.
Yeah. So they went to more, leaving her non-profit charity to save the world, you know. Which again, it's cool. It's just looking at what was, a fucking late 20s, early 30-year-old writer in his bedroom he was in the middle of fucking America at that point, just writing fucking unread comic books, you know. So it does need another lens on it to tighten it up a bit. The thing I'm not mad about initially is Mark was never a dick in the books, and he's pretty kind of like he's got a couple of moments in this show. Like, he threatens his mother in the first episode. You know, she goes back in the house, it's night, and he just gets a look on his face and goes, "Make me." I'm like, whoa, that's not Mark. That's a little wrong.
Yeah, he's a lovely fella. He's a lovely kid in the book.
Yeah, he is
at least
raised. As far as he's concerned, he's raised by Superman, and is that guy. He is the kid that was raised with the best heart.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that moment was like, woof, that's a little off color for Mark.
Why do you think they did that?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's definitely been, like, as you get way deeper into the books, there's a little like parallel dimension stuff where you see how a Viltrumite could go wrong, or how a version of Mark could be immediately threatening, but this version of him isn't that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being a bit more heavy-handed with Omni-Man as well. Like, he's kind of sketched through the first episode to the end. Like, that fight, and I'm sorry, Kev, but like, you know where this is going at the end of this episode. We've already kind of discussed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess spoilers for anybody who is listening, but like that moment at the end of the episode is really, it's a little more flagged or signposted in the show than it was in the comic book. He is the sweetest, nicest superhero guy, and then you're like, holy fuck.
I guess they know the comic's been out long enough, so kind of why, rather than kind of hide it, you know, introduce it quicker, and then you've got that kind of mystery angle where, you know, he's under suspicion, and they're trying to, you've got that story then where they're trying to solve it, because I guess they're probably assuming that the book has been out so long that maybe they can't hide it as well.
But I think as well, like, it's good that they kind of get it done at the end of the first episode as opposed to doing it at the end of the last episode. Could you imagine if the whole season was building up to Omni-Man's twist and being real? Because that's a route they really could have taken and possibly even considered, you know. Yeah. So it's good that they got that off like and done and dusted in the first episode. I think I haven't watched it, but
yeah. I mean, I got to give it to them though. Like, guts of hour-long episodes, 40-minute episodes. Flying around stuff is good and joyous, you know. It's got a real nice energy to it. I'm enjoying the scale of it.
Yeah, looking forward to it now, to be honest.
I was comparing it to, just in terms of a production level, I was comparing it to the new Netflix show as well, and it's obviously like,
what's the new Netflix show?
I believe, I don't know how it's pronounced because it's a like a. I know it's a big game in kind of the world of esports and stuff. I think it's called Dota.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Which I think stands for Dawn of the Ancients or something like that, but everybody just calls it Dota.
Yeah.
It's a mod of another game.
The show is Dragon's Blood, and it's by Studio Mir, and like the production of it is just gorgeous. So I was kind of watching the two, comparing the kind of production, and there's this kind of, I don't know like what software and stuff they're using, but I've kind of noticed in the last couple of years Western cartoons, particularly like bigger productions where the like animation kind of has to match the style of the books, they don't look as sharp as they could. And there's something about just even like the kind of line quality for like something of Invincible. It just looks it's too graphic. I don't really know, something like the kind of line quality of it is just very, very thin, and it looks something about it looks a bit cheap
in Invincible
in places. Yeah,
the opening scene where the road's cracking and it's like kind of like, you know, coming apart and stuff. It's so like a late 90s, early 2000s cartoon. Like it definitely, the animation is a little
feels
bit
like
cheap.
X-Men Evolution a little bit.
It is definitely a bit cheap.
And that's the thing. Like I've noticed, I think there was a point where I remember watching, I think it was a Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was one of like the DC kind of animated movies, like the 50-minute long ones. And it's superb. And like the action in it is solid, and the character design by, I think it's Phil Barassa, and it's just lovely, lovely stuff. But he did the designs then on Young Justice, which I also thought was fantastic. Really kind of nice, really nice animation, kind of really nice production. But from that point onwards, his style is kind of really pushed towards being more anime oriented. At least it looks like. And it's this kind of hybrid now of kind of Western and Eastern styles, and it just doesn't work. And I don't know then if they're maybe not spending enough kind of money on the production, but if you look at things like Justice League War and stuff like that, it just, the designs don't translate as well to animation. I think they make like nice looking model sheets and stuff like that, but in the show, and like there was a show with Aquaman, and there was another, pretty much everything they've released in the years since looks bad. And
there's one or
particularly
two that I've looked at where I don't know this to be true, but I get the sense that they're trying to move to a sort of rigged animation system.
Yeah,
there's something changing in the way that they're executing these things, because up until recently they've been very much hand drawn. But there was a Superman one I saw recently, and I was looking at it and going, that is an object rather than a series of drawings.
Yeah,
like I know the system.
And like when you compare it to Justice League Unlimited, which again was just superb, and I think in Western comics, those kind of designs, like the stuff that's closer to Bruce Timm, translate really well to animation. But then the closer for cartoons based on like Western kind of comic style, the further they get from a stylized thing like Bruce Timm and closer to looking like the comics, it doesn't animate as well, I think. And especially if you compare like two productions that have come out at the same time, you've got Dragon's Blood and Invincible, and Dragon's Blood just looks like it's impeccable. It's gorgeous looking. I've watched it a couple of times, and just kind of background, so I'm not even really sure the plot, whether the plot's kind of good and things like that, but just production wise, it's on another level.
The thing I'll say in defense of Invincible on that front is, I was watching it and thinking how I think Cory Walker is involved. I don't know to what degree as like art director on the show, but he was the original artist on the first half dozen issues, and it's bang on his style.
I'm delighted it is. Yeah, I'm so happy it is.
Yeah,
and like,
but that's what I'm saying. There are shots in it where
because it feels like we'll get to see the Cory Walker version of Invincible as opposed to the Ryan Ottley version where he did 100 issues after the fact. And I love Ryan Ottley's stuff as well, but he gets down in 90s crosshatch over render rabbit hole that Cory doesn't, and both have their merits, but I love Cory's stuff.
I'm mad about Cory's stuff all day.
I think it's just something I noticed there's more of a tradition of it, I guess, in anime and things like that. There's so many anime that are based on manga, and the character designs, they just have more practice of designing a bunch of characters that are still very faithful to the manga artists' character designs. And you kind of forget that sometimes. Like if you're reading the comic and you're comparing it to the show, and it's only when you're looking really closely you notice these tweaks they've made to the design to lend itself much better to the animation. But it's kind of thing you only really notice when you're kind of looking closely. It's like, oh yeah, they changed this so that works better when it's moving and stuff like that. And I think that's something that just Western animation is kind of less practiced at, because there's been less cartoon adaptations of comics when you compare it to manga and anime.
Well, I think we need to just watch on and see how far they go. This, like, I definitely was watching it and I was like, okay, Amazon, just fucking stick the money to make 9 seasons of this in a bank somewhere and walk away and don't think about it. Just stick the budget there. You have the money. Walk
like
away
they do with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, just stick the money aside, leave it the fuck alone, and just let them do it. And because I would hate to think they get to like series 5 and they're like, can we get a cheaper studio, or can we get can we wrap this up in 1 season now?
Yeah, it'll all depend on whether it gets an audience, I suppose. So
yeah,
hopefully it finds an audience.
Hopefully it picks up some of that boys traffic. Falcon and Winter Soldier then.
I wrote my thoughts down. I feel like I can articulate my feelings better when I do that.
Okay.
Tell us how it made you feel.
I said, do Cap, not a douche. And then it was, how tall is he? He should have gotten a haircut. Freeloading hippie. Haircut actually looks okay. He's a douchebag, but he's got guts though. The big tree-yard thing. Bucky has the coolest costume. Why did Bucky...
Oh, let's walk back a wee bit.
Okay.
Let's go the opening sequence, okay? Yeah, I think I was happy to see that John Walker wasn't immediately a douchebag.
Yes.
That's important, I think.
Yeah.
That he is coming from the right place, even if... Sound like I'm about to say something, Brian.
I was just wondering, is it just me, or is it deliberate? But did the opening scene of the first 2 episodes so far remind you of like a funeral, or have kind of funeral vibes to it? So like in the first scene
of the first 2.
Yeah.
Of the first 2. So like in the first one,
Falcon's...
Sam's getting ready for something, and it looks like, I don't know, my mind's just jumped to funeral or something.
Yeah, because he's ironing. It's very somber.
Yeah, and then the second one is John Walker. He's opening the bag for his suit, but it's a very, very close up, and it looks like it just straight away, like it reminded me of a body bag or something. Is that deliberate, or did you pick up on that at all? My mind went there straight away.
I'm trying to remember. Are the first shots in such a way that they're disconnected from the scene, that like, so that close up of the bag, when it cuts to a wide, is the suggestion that that's a different scene we're seeing from a different place?
Not that it's a different scene, but it's just that it's on it long enough, and he's opening it slowly, and like, so all you can kind of see is black bag with a zip, and then you see the suit inside it, but it's slow until it cuts then to the wide, that you're kind of going, okay, this is actually, I'm not sure, because he's walking across the lockers, so it could even look like maybe a slightly different scene. I'm not sure. The first one, it's Sam ironing his shirt and
that would be interesting if we got to the end of 6.
Yeah, it's just
I thought it opened with the big flight scene.
It opens it with Falcon originally ironing a suit or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw that bag, I was like, is that are they opening like a body bag? And straight away it's like, is somebody wearing that suit, or is it just hanging on? Yeah, but I don't know if that was deliberate, but the fact that it's 2 in a row, I don't know. I guess we'll see on the next one if they're still hitting.
The
on that.
prophet Brian has spoken.
I think it was like we said the last day. Bucky's reaction is kind of where I thought it would be, with like,
Yeah.
you should never have given up that fucking shield. This isn't what Steve wanted. Even if the guy is a good dude, you're not Steve.
Yeah.
And I liked his line as well about, he chose you, and if he's wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. That was it was a good line too.
I was kind of bristling a bit with the back and forth banter they were having when they were going off onto that mission. I was just a little bit of like, I guess I got so used to Winter Soldier Bucky that I forgot about First Avenger Bucky that was, kind of charming and chatty. Do you know what I mean? So I was bristling a bit at it, and then I went, oh no, wait, he kind of had this, like, don't do anything stupid. Can't you taking all the stupid with you?
Yeah.
I forgot about that stuff, and it took me a minute to kind of go, well, maybe it is. He's just a bit more back to James Bucky Buchanan, So I gave it a little more tolerance.
I thought it played out better in the episode as well than it did in the trailers. In the trailers, it looked like that same problem I have with guns, kind of, banter. But in the episode, it played out a lot better, I think. And so did the kind of couples therapy scene that looked forced in the trailer, but it was much. I was laughing at it in the actual scene, And I think I don't know if it was necessarily, I wouldn't say improv, but I felt like they were having a bit of fun with it, particularly when they were like pushing the chairs closer together, and he said something about like his thighs, and I noticed I've definitely seen an interview with Mackie before where he says something about Sebastian Stan's thighs, and then he made a joke about it in the scene. He was like, you're the one with the bigger legs or whatever. So it felt like it was the two of them just like
having a bit of crack.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody I know referred to Anthony Mackie as like discount Will Smith.
Oh.
And I thought that was a bit harsh, but then I guess I don't know Mackie from a lot of things, and then I just saw that, and I'm like, I would wish they'd both wind back the banter a little bit.
Yeah, I've always liked him. I'm trying to remember I remember one of the first things I saw him on was a late night talk show, and he was just a lot of fun. And I think it was after he had done Adjustment Bureau, so he was doing an interview for that before I'd seen the film, which terrible film.
That was that the Ben Affleck one or something, or?
But I remember seeing him,
Matt Damon,
awful film. But I remember seeing an interview. I think it was promoting that, and obviously I hadn't seen the film yet, but just liking him from that point. So I do think that's a bit unfair to kind of.
No, I don't think of him like that at all. I like him. I didn't like the dark. I didn't like the Black Mirror episode with him. But I don't think that's necessarily anything on him. I just don't think I really like Black Mirror. Like I hate, one of the reasons why I hate the guy who played
You're too sensitive,
Russell. Yeah, because of all the bloody screaming in the episode, I hated. But yeah. Russell, the guy who plays the Winter Soldier, Kurt Russell's son or whatever. He Wyatt Russell, isn't it? He
looks like the hockey player.
He is the hockey player.
Is he the hockey player? He's Kurt Russell's son and a hockey player.
Yeah.
No way.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah, no, they look very like. But when I heard of him first, I just heard that he was a hockey player. Nobody.
Me too. I only heard he was Kurt Russell's son a couple of weeks ago.
Ah, okay. Right, fair enough.
Pretty sure he's a hockey player. But I was gonna say, yeah, I saw the episode of him in Black Mirror and I hated it. But then I just might Black Mirror was good for a while.
His acting has also improved since that episode. If that is him.
Which
they do look alike. They look very alike. I assumed it was him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
But he's bad in that episode.
But
I liked the episode. But anyway.
Oh no, I hate it. Sorry, go on, Brian.
No, I just kind of liked what they were trying to do in the episode. It's not the strongest, but yeah, he's not great in it, unfortunately. I think it could have been so much better. But yeah, go ahead.
But no, I was just gonna say, I like Anthony Mackie. I think he's good. I like the different things that I can't think of now. Avengers. He was good in Avengers.
Yeah, no, that is him in Black Mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking it was. Yeah, to be honest, he won me over in Overlord. He's actually not. He's like, it's like I've seen him in so many things and I didn't like him. He's even in This Is 40 with Paul Rudd. And I think he kind of plays himself in that movie, to be honest. But like I didn't really like him. But then I watched Overlord and I was just like, oh yeah, like kind of he was fair, like decent enough for that. And I didn't even know it was him in Winter Soldier until like after I actually watched the episode.
But it's funny that like once I decided he wasn't a douche, because I thought they were just going to play him straight out asshole.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Once I decided, oh, that's not what they're going for, then I started looking at his head going, it is a bit like a fucked up Chris Evans. Like, it does look like he took Chris Evans and just like he's made it of clay and he just squeezed him just a little bit. And
more chin.
He's just...
More forehead.
More
just
chin.
a bit off. It's just a bit off. And that's kind of like, yeah, he is just a bit off Captain America. And then it's... If we get into the sort of flag smasher stuff where the guys have the super soldier serum, where they've got something running through their veins, and they threw out the word powered broker when they were running away.
Yeah.
And that character is the one that gave John Walker superpowers in the comic books.
He also makes Torres the Falcon as well.
Torres is the guy from the first episode that's with the Falcon, while the Falcon is repairing Red Wing. And he's the guy who records Flag Smasher, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. Power Broker gives him powers in the comics as well.
Okay. So, I think we're starting to see, I guess, where Walker's going to, I guess, run up against his limitations as a standard human. Even if he is the most advanced end of human you can get.
Is he definitely a standard human, though?
Throwing that shield around is a little fucked up. That is... I mean, I assumed he's standard, but he's...
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They haven't alluded to any powers.
They haven't exactly, but the fact, I guess we're moving on to the kind of topic then of Isaiah Bradley. The fact that they have had super soldiers after Steve Rogers.
So, was Bradley... My remembering of the book was that Bradley was pre-Rogers.
I thought it was, but I don't think it was actually. But anyway, in the show anyway, it's after.
Yeah, I thought he was like late 1800s, early 1900s.
No, it's not.
No, I thought it was definitely like in the lead up to giving it to a white guy in World War II. Yeah, it was definitely like guinea pigged and like.
Yeah, I think in the comics it might actually be after as well, but for the purposes, yeah, I thought it was before, but I think it might be after. I think it's in Roger's absence then after World War II that's when it was happening because they're trying to recreate it, I think. But that's what it is anyway for the purpose of the show. So it would suggest someone out there has... I mean, we knew that anyway because they were making more Winter Soldiers.
Yeah.
But
they did that by stealing the serum off of Howard Stark.
Yeah. But at the same time, presumably... Yeah, they gave it to those guys. But he did say that, your people, tested me while I was in prison and stuff. And Sam says he meant Hydra by that, But yeah, there's a little look that when they're walking down the road and the guys are in the kind of army vehicle telling him to kind of hop in and get a ride to the airport. They kind of share a look when he says super soldiers. And it's just kind of like a little eyebrow raise. And I think it could be interpreted two ways.
Wait, who had an eyebrow raise?
I think either Walker or Hoskins says, oh, the big three. And then I think Bucky or Sam corrects him and says it's not any of those three. It's super soldiers. And then Walker looks at his partner and kind of does a little eyebrow raise as if to say, oh, wow, super soldiers. And it's... could be interpreted two ways. He's kind of like, is he saying, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that? Or is he kind of giving him a little knowing look, kind of saying, yeah, we know that because we've got the same kind of thing running through us potentially. Watch it again. And I think you could interpret it two ways. I think initially you're kind of going, oh, they don't know. Because we haven't seen him definitely demonstrate strength, but... At the same time, he
yeah. Well, like throwing that shield.
And I guess when you think about it, he
I'm surprised to see
he held up better than an actual super soldier and Sam, and all he had presumably was a shield. Is that the only difference? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that he's actually enhanced in some way. Yeah.
Already an augment, enhanced on the field.
Or it's definitely going to be, anyways. And Battlestar.
Don't know much about him from the comics. I know he's in the comics. That's about it.
I mean, he called himself Battlestar, didn't he? He was Bucky in the books. Like they called him Bucky for a while.
It was an acronym, though, wasn't it? Bucky was
No way.
Yeah, it was an acronym for something, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see John Walker's Captain America then in a sort of like light next to something like Homelander.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I am looking at him going, especially when he's bailing them out of the police station and he's got that like, oh, we're old friends, kind of PR charm thing going with this sort of undercurrent of, government wet work. I've fucking killed a bunch of people.
He did go by Bucky, but he was also a bold urban commando.
This goes back to comic books being able to shed the weight of their fucking continuity.
I don't know what Bucky stood for, but
a bold urban commando.
Yes. That's what it was. Sorry, that's awful.
Yeah.
So I just said he was a bold urban commando, and I was just like, all right.
A BUC.
Yeah, awful.
Yeah, he did have kind of Homelander vibes in the police station.
Yeah, and that's such a.
And then to tell him at the end to stay out of their way if they weren't going to team up, and he said it with a serious edge,
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, it is curious to see. Again, it's my assumptions of military, like that. To get to that high-end operator class of fucking soldier that's sent in to do all of this sort of stuff, I presume balance and mission focus, and then to layer on top of that the expectations of the public relations end of the job. I'm curious to see what the instigating factor is for, because he's going to, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's our assumption that he's going to go wrong, We've assumed just based on the path of the comics that he goes a bit over the fucking top and has to be brought back. But by the end of his arc in the comics, he's an effective, positive superhero.
Yeah, and like in the comics as well, when he first arrives, isn't it that he fakes a load of situations to make himself look like a hero? So are these maybe even
publicity stunts and stuff?
Yeah, so like, could these even be false flag type events to make him look like a hero? Is that the angle they're going to take with it?
Right.
Potentially.
Yeah.
In the trailers,
if we take sincerely the.
Go ahead.
If we take sincerely the idea that like he's in that locker room, very sincerely intent on not letting anybody down. To be faking it, like that could drive him to faking the situation so it looks like he's succeeding, or if he's confronted with the notion that Shield or Sword or somebody's been faking situations to make him look good for PR.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll rebel against that,
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's going to be kind of like a bit of a redemption storyline. Like surely by the end of it, he's kind of going to be on the side of Bucky and Falcon, and probably going to give Falcon the actual shield. Do you know what I mean? Or Bucky the shield,
we've seen in the trailers that Sam is practicing with the shield. So does he?
Okay.
Does
I didn't watch trailers.
Does Walk? Okay. Does something happen to Walker, or does he give it to him? And like it was at the center. It was in the first trailer. Like Sam is practicing at his house. So.
I'd be disappointed if it resolved itself that quickly in 6 episodes that like Walker was like, I can't do this, here's the shield. I would be happier to see a longer plan or a longer game run out where Walker is like, I'm absolutely Captain America, even if you've taken the shield from me and I'm going off and I'm out in the world. As I just don't want it to tie up with a bow. I want him to go off and be. If he has to be redeemed, let's redeem him over time. Here, 6 episodes isn't a lot, you know.
Yeah, but then where is it going to happen? Is it going to happen in the second season, or is it probably not going to happen in the movies?
I mean, that's for them to plan. I'm just telling what I'd like. I don't.
Yeah, but what I mean is
what I mean
is they've got a plan for the next 2 or 3 years, and I don't see where he fits in it. Like, we know what their plan for the next 3 years is, and I don't see where he'd fit in, you know, unless there's a second season, which this could potentially do. I couldn't really see Wanda getting a second season, nor does it really need one. But this show could have a second season, maybe. But
well, we say that, but like, I'm just looking at like what's sort of upcoming. We say that, but like, you know, Civil War is a Captain America movie, and we saw every fucking hero in it. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Oh yeah.
Once we get to know,
but what I mean is just
enough, we can...
knowing, like, there's Black Widow, Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, Eternals. I don't see where he'd fit.
What if
in those?
Well, that's animated, so I can't see them doing it through there. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Hawkeye, is that live action?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely in the sort of shieldy world of things.
Yeah, there's a Secret Invasion movie with Samuel L. Jackson as well, so maybe potentially in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can get a lot done in 40 minutes as well.
Sure. Sam getting the shield and committing to trying to be the Cap that Steve wanted would be where I would like this to go. But I don't necessarily know that I want John Walker to be closed out. I want him to be maybe disillusioned with what was asked of him, or what people tried to make him. But I would like to see him still out there trying to be what he thinks he is, or has worked towards, or could be. You know, he said, "I've done the work." Like almost like, I do deserve this. I've done the work. And if he feels he deserves this, I don't know. I don't necessarily
begrudge him it.
I mean, there is in the last 2 episodes, there is definitely a therapy theme. This is a guy who's got a lot of weight put on him as well, and we know, as comic book nerds, that, you know, Walker has a path through chaos to the point where he's an Avenger. You know, whether or not they do that in the show.
Yeah, but like he's a big enough actor though as well. I know it sounds stupid, but he's a big enough actor to kind of transcend TV to movies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily write him out of the possibility of featuring it in some movie in some capacity at some stage. You know, he's a big enough star. Like,
yeah, there'd have to be enough of a reason to bring him back, whether he's virtuous enough by the end or villainous enough. You know,
yeah, exactly.
To warrant people kind of getting excited to see him.
Yeah,
pop up somewhere else.
And we got to remember that we're going to see Zemo next episode.
Yeah,
well, we saw him at the end of this episode, so there's Bruel to come into this. That last couple of shots, not good. You know, like they gave us the information, but like I went back and watched them again. I remember thinking, that's a really janky cut from one shot to the next. Like, even like there's a little like there's a stage line cross from establishing where he is in the cell to that close up of his face and looking up. You know, I know what they were trying to do, but it didn't work. In my opinion, I know
I think
really
stage line crosses are only really bad in kind of dialogue heavy scenes, or like when there's choreography playing out. I don't think it was the worst rule to break.
I kind of, yeah, I know what you're saying, but like when you've got like a very, very short sequence like that where you've just kind of got 3 shots of like cell a little closer, a little close up in the face, it's like you could have just kept this consistent. And the light changes quite a lot in that close up. So it's I'm really, really fucking nitpicking.
I thought I thought on top of the trucks, that fight scene on top of the trucks didn't look great.
It didn't look great, no.
It looked rough.
This thing I don't get, like,
of it.
Like, sorry, if you don't have the time for the effects, make the sequence shorter. Like, I don't get. It was the same in Justice League, where there's these big sequence is playing out, and it's like these shots aren't finished, so cut it. Like choreograph a shorter scene. Like it didn't need to be that long. They could have he could have been kicked off it. He could have been kicked out the back of one truck and then have Walker show up straight away and have that play out much faster. He doesn't need to be hanging underneath it, and for Sam to have to like go under and get him out, and for the fight to still be going on top of the thing. And there's so many exchanges going on. It's just like that shot doesn't look good. It's not essential. It doesn't add to the scene.
The guy with wings didn't fly back to the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't understand.
They just start walking.
I didn't really understand that one as well either, to be fair. Like Bucky was hanging off the bottom of it and then was like trying to put his hand in the road. It was just kind of like what did they hope? Like, is he meant to like try and like, he's not going to stop the truck, you know? And if he does do it, just do it. I know that sounds stupid, but just do it. But the scenes were like, well, like don't get me wrong, I like the scene, and I thought when John Walker's arrived and stuff, it was awesome. Like, you know, he was like
just
kicking ass
shorter.
and stuff. But yeah,
and have the shots that you've got more time then to polish the shots you're using, you know.
But just don't put it on a truck though.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's a couple of like, and we are really fucking nitpicking, but like, all that scene told us was the Flag Smashers have stolen some stuff, and John Walker's out there as Captain America. The next scene when the Flag Smashers stick stuff on a plane and a guy just runs into some gunfire.
Oh God!
And they fly away. There was no point to that. That was shocking.
That was literally my notes.
Just have them fly away. When Bucky, I feel like such a shithead just shitting on stuff now. 2 trucks leaving in convoy.
He goes to the first one.
He ran around.
Yeah, don't get it.
And in front of the driver of the second truck.
Yeah, that's in my notes as well. Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing.
Yeah,
like
I didn't get that at all.
He's going to the truck that she's in, and they needed a truck behind him for when he gets punched out. That's why, and it makes no sense. But that's why it.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
That's what I mean. But like that. But like,
I thought it was in the back truck. I thought she was in the back truck from the
taking
the
off bank.
UI
Yeah,
stuff
like
that
while we're
Sam's doing.
nitpicking
Yeah,
though,
like,
watching.
why
I
did
don't
they
know if you've watched it that far, Kev, but the alien invasion in Invincible, and these guys show up 3 times for a ground assault, and it's like they've got technology, like their timeline moves faster on their dimension or planet, and they've got technology to open up portals for a ground assault, and they come to the same place with tanks. It's like, do these guys not have fucking bomber jets equivalent? And like, wouldn't change the scene, it would just make more sense. But like, they keep coming back with the same tactic, and it's like, this is dumb. This is bad. Like, it seems like a nitpick, but at the same time, I did notice my attention was kind of going, what's happening? You know, makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of just like a funny.
I'd forgive Falcon and Winter Soldier for the truck thing much faster, that because they need him to get kicked out, and they needed the truck behind him, and they were like, look, this is fucking do this. But
if he had got kicked out of the back of the truck and John Walker had caught him from a helicopter,
that would be harder to do.
How
that would be harder
pissed
to
off. It would be harder to do, but
well,
like,
I'm just saying, I'd
forgive
forgive them a lot faster than I'd forgive basically half an episode to these aliens who've got advanced enough technology to open portals. And I'd like this thing, like even in the first Avengers movie, they make a case for why Loki needs to open the portal where he does. He wants to make a scene or whatever. What was stopping them from opening a portal in the Pentagon or something? Like, it's stupid. It's so much dumber. It really is. And animation is happening on a longer schedule as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just have I have a lot of affection for that book, so I'm gonna, like, without basis, defend the fucking thing and just go, no, it's fine, leave it alone, shut up.
Yeah, but like, why did that one guy, age a little bit and then stop aging, and then the rest of them age to the point where they died?
I don't think they did that I don't
Yeah,
think
we're
they
not
did
talking
that
about the
in
comic. We're talking about the TV
don't
show
know
we
why
saw.
I don't know why they did that in the show.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
I don't know why they did that in the show. Yeah.
But yeah, no, on the subject of nitpicking, basically. It's, I wasn't going to bring it up, but
On the subject of nitpicking, and again, Kev, I know you're just watching it, but they have decided that their approach for the opening credits of Invincible is just for the character to say...
not working as well as they think.
At all. So somebody goes, I guess it turns out I'm... And then it'll cut to the thing on screen. And it'll just say the word Invincible. So the word Invincible has to sort of like...
flow into the camera.
Naturally appear in a conversation. And then...
A character is about to say it and it smashes to the title card and it doesn't work.
At all. It doesn't work the first, second or third time they did it. And I hope to God they stop.
Yeah. They're not going
to. But it's such a tiny nitpick, You know that like there's some editor that's like, Invincible. Okay, it works. The rhythm in his head works and it doesn't work.
When do we think? When and how do we think Isaiah Bradley will do that?
They got to bring him back. The grandson.
Yeah, Patriot, isn't he?
Yeah, but I just mean in terms of the story of the show. How do you think he's got to come back? Just how do you think?
I think they're probably getting into some situation where, yeah, maybe I think their grandson will kind of like Isaiah's going to be too old, but the grandson will kind of step in, because isn't there something in the comics where it's like it kind of gets watered down as it passes through your genetics?
I don't know. Don't think so.
I think it's going to be more a case of you have a character in Isaiah Bradley who, like Sam, was put into the world as a Captain America and had to live with that expectation, even if he was put on further, especially if they're saying it's post-Steve that he was given the superpowers and sent off to Korea and Vietnam or wherever else he might have been rolled out. I think that's where Isaiah's going to come up. Sam's going to have that sort of come into Jesus moment and have a conversation with Isaiah about what the weight of being this symbol is and can you bear it.
But he ended up in prison for it though. Is the thing.
But you've got the first Black Captain America to say to the next Black Captain America, here's what this entails. Here's what you have to do. Here's
Oh yeah, but I mean, just in terms of the story, what do you think is going to bring it back around? Like, is Sam going to go back to him by himself? Is it because there's an escalation with the power broker, or is it because Bucky's out of action for some reason that he needs to go to him? Like, how just predictions? What do you see? How do you see?
I see Bucky. I see more Bucky going to him than Sam going to him.
Well, the thing is, I don't know how they got to him in the first place. Bucky just went, oh, they've got superpowers, there's a guy we need to talk to. And it's like, but you've seen people with superpowers a lot. How did you make the leap that you need to go and see Isaiah Bradley and get nothing out of the scene other than just showing Sam that there's somebody out there?
Well, just the fact that there's more super soldiers. Like, the only super soldiers he's told him about that point were the Winter Soldiers, the other Winter Soldiers.
Yeah, so it is a pretty big secret. Yeah,
and like so it makes sense for him to tell him then at that point. Because he said he felt like he'd been through enough, so he was leaving him out of it. But now it's quite relevant because
you think
they've literally just had a conversation with.
The relevant thing there is that Bucky felt he needed to let Isaiah know that there was stuff out in the world, probably based off of his blood.
More to let Sam know that they're like that. They've just gone up against a bunch of super soldiers, and Sam is like, "How?" And he's like, "Well, there's not just the Winter Soldiers." Like me, there was also this stuff back on
the American
soil,
home turf. Yeah,
and I think no, I was going to say something there. I think I don't know. Can't remember. Sorry, guys.
You were saying Bucky goes back to him, maybe, or
Bucky goes back to him.
But does Zemo go looking for him, or do we find out that, like, say you've got a food stamps, no money, left to rot Isaiah Bradley who needs money and started selling his blood to Hydra or the Flag Smashers or the Power Broker, so that brings him back into it.
I don't think so. I don't think like he
he
wouldn't do that consciously. You know what I mean? Like I think because he is at the end of the day he is still superpowered. He could potentially.
Is it the grandson?
I think the grandson's going to be into because we have Wiccan in Speed or whatever from WandaVision, and they're young Avengers, and I think the Patriot is a young Avenger as well.
Who have we got?
Yep.
Wiccan, isn't it? Wiccan and Speedy?
Wiccan and Speed.
Speed,
yeah.
WandaVision.
Young Avengers.
Yeah.
WandaVision.
But they cease to exist, right?
Yeah, but they're introduced, like they're out there, and you hear them talking at the end of the episode. They're asking her for help.
Did I miss that? Where's that?
Is that the very end of the last episode? Where she's in the cabin?
They're asking her for... I have to go back and watch that. I didn't hear that at all.
And weren't they seen filming in London on the set of one of the other movies, or like, but wherever, like maybe it's like Doctor Strange.
I didn't hear about that, but
I heard something like that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't introduce them out, particularly when you've introduced like Scott Lang's, and you've got Kate Bishop, and you've got Patriot now, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 5 already.
The ginger woman, who is the flag smasher?
She doesn't seem very convinced by the actual cause herself, though, does she? No, she seems like it's more like for like she's doing it for other reasons or something, that she's conflicted.
I think she maybe is conflicted because she stole that stuff from the power broker, and her cause is exactly, yeah, and it's already at, we see at the end it's having more violent repercussions than she maybe hoped. But we'll see.
Yeah, but that was such a disappointing scene. Like, you run ahead, I'm going to hold them off, and I was just like, oh yeah, cool.
Push down a pole, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and he just gets gunned down. It's the most frustrating thing.
He could have used a car door as a shield or something, and
anything.
Could have run into that building to the right of.
Yeah, exactly.
Picked them off one at a time.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta put this mask on to protect my face, and then just leave the rest of my body completely open, where the mask gets basically shut off. Drop
the lamppost, run off into the darkness off to the side, loop around behind them. Like, you're very fast.
That's it. Like, we just saw him take out like Sam, Bucky, Walker, and Hoskins, but a couple of guys with
Walker had
a gun and a shield. It's like, but a couple of guys with assault rifles, no match for them. Like,
yeah, I know, it's so stupid. It's why they do that. I hate that
stuff too. Yeah, like, it seems like a nitpick, but it just breaks the show's internal logic, and it breaks the story.
Yes, yeah, it just takes you out of it, because like you're watching it and you just kind of like
the next time Sam and Bucky go up against them, they just need a couple of rifles. It's like, why are they fist fighting them?
A little distance and a couple of rifles.
It's just stupid.
And the Winter Soldier
so well as he had that shield,
Yeah.
The Winter Soldier has a rifle in the book, so there you go, bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's his main weapon, other than his arm is. We've seen him in the films. He's got a fucking assault rifle
and a raccoon.
And a raccoon, yeah.
So let's have just a quick look then. I've got a list of what's coming up. June, we've got Loki.
I'm looking forward to that.
July, Black Widow. You're looking forward to it?
Yeah. I think they can...
100%.
I think it's another chance for them to do something a bit different, like WandaVision. But it won't be kind of confined to the TV kind of thing, which, again, format. I don't think WandaVision needed to do for more than an episode. It's like, yeah, we get it now, and you can still work through the decades, but it doesn't need to be 4-3 for 2 or 3 episodes.
And do you think then...
I think it would be a less jarring transition as well to the real world if it's in the same format, because people were saying, "Oh, I much prefer the kind of TV side of the things," and it's just like, that's because you're being told every time that you're shifting to the other story now because the format's changing. But
the assertion that WandaVision was a sort of lead-in for the new Doctor Strange thing, do you think that that's going to tie into... Do you think Loki's going to tie into that? Or do you think Loki's going to tie back into like Thor, Love and Thunder? Or
I think
Loki's dead as far as we're concerned in the Avengers movies, right?
Well, no, he's alive because
he
gets the Tesseract in Endgame and he splits off.
I can't remember.
So he dies in Infinity War, but then when they go to 2012 or whenever it was, to get the other Tesseract from the past. He escapes with it, and then they have to go back to 1970s to get the Tesseract in the army base. But there's a version in a Loki that gets the Tesseract and splits off. So I think
because Cap will have gone back to the 70s army base, put the Tesseract back, it makes its way forward in time, gets involved in that Avengers shit, and he still gets it and disappears.
Yeah, so
actually,
so essentially, his story is it's an alternate version of him, so it does tie directly to a multiverse. The moment he gets that, the timeline splits. So that ties directly to the kind of multiverse thing. So it's got to tie up with. I think Doctor Strange is going to be their next kind of Civil War type movie in terms of how many other things it pulls in from. Yeah, so it's. And that's going to then presumably... You've got the multiverse and you've got Kang. So you've got the kind of multiverse in terms of people like Wanda, and then you've got this multiverse in terms of timelines and stuff like that. So will we see Kang as well, maybe, in Loki?
Because time traveler.
Because they've cast him already as well.
Black Widow's the next thing up then in July, but I think you got to bear in mind that the expectation was that would have been out in 2020.
That would have been out before everything else, yeah.
So there's I mean, if I had to guess, there's a chance that there's some suggestion of super soldier serums.
Probably, yeah.
In that timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have Red Guardian, isn't he? Russian super soldier?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that there's something there that feeds into your Isaiah Bradley and your Winter Soldier development stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just because it was a prequel, they could be kind of happy enough to let that go, to shift back a few months, or to shift back a year at this point. Over a year. It was supposed to be out in March or May last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Then Shang-Chi. I'm kind of skipping the What If series because that's What If. Shang-Chi is scheduled for September? Is that a series or a film?
Film.
It's going to be their Mortal Kombat, basically.
Oh, you think it's playing?
Oh, definitely.
It's a
tournament.
It's a fight film, tournament fight film.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, I am in for that. Fucking Bloodsport, Game of Death, fucking The Quest with Roger Moore. I watched The Quest with Roger Moore more than anyone should have. It was directed by John
that's exactly what it's going for. And Enter the Dragon.
The Quest is so good.
We're gonna have the Mandarin in the kind of Enter the Dragon role. I can't remember the character's name. What was his name?
My god, Was he just Han in Enter the
Han, I think, yeah. So Han is going to be a Mandarin type character in this, and it's going to be very much their like Mortal Kombat looks like fun, and that's essentially what they're going for with Shang-Chi. It's just going to be less. It's not going to be R-rated, but it's going to be their Mortal Kombat movie. It's going to be whether it'll be interdimensional like Mortal Kombat is, or whether it's just going to be super powered fight tournament. But that's what it is.
That's interesting. I wonder if because in that case, I'm supposing at this point, but those sort of fight films where it's like they bring in like a Brazilian capoeirista just to just show some capoeira, but then you don't really spend any time. Then we move on. It's like you could definitely bring in somebody from Kunlun, and tip in the hat to the Iron Fist thing.
They've got to bring in the Hand or Wolverine maybe, or Deadpool. Or something, there's a lot of, maybe they won't, but I think
there's room to bring in. There's room to touch on a lot of different fighty sects. Fighty sects.
So I'm kind of way more looking forward to that. Having seen what Mortal Kombat looks like, it's like, oh, so that that's pretty much what they're trying to do in their thing over here on the side of the Marvel universe. So. Yeah, I'm more excited about that now.
So then Eternals is November.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was scheduled for last November. So if you had to guess, do you think there's anything in there that would, that they've leapfrogged something that should have happened?
Presumably.
What?
They're always setting stuff up, and that's been a winner for them, is to set up other movies. That's why people go, I got to see this to see what they're teeing up. So they have to. There's got to be something. It'd be silly of them not to. A huge part of the success of the formula is having those films leading to something else. It makes each one feel like you got to see this, because you got to know how they're setting up something. So
the question is, if I go and watch the Eternals now, does that set up WandaVision? You know, do we see her getting head up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Do we meet the Sword group? You know, is it that
Or
slightly?
is it a mistake to
skew-wise?
set up a TV show from them? I think maybe keep the films kind of for the films, because you want people to want to watch the films, but you don't want them to necessarily be as essential as the films, because you're kind of splitting the audiences. If what works is make them want to see the films, it's the same mistake the comic book is making, to kind of say you got to read this issue and this issue and this issue. There's a very fine line between saying you got to watch this to keep up and saying you got to watch everything to keep up. You know, that's a mistake the comics made, as you were saying like last week, that read this issue to get the backstory on this, you know, a side conversation. They got to be careful about that balance. So I don't think the films are going to queue up the TV shows necessarily. I think it'll be the other way around. I don't know.
Because then it's Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, and Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man's off in its own little box, being Sony-ish. Hawkeye and Miss Marvel are series?
The Hawkeye is anyways.
Yeah. And She-Hulk.
Okay. So, but that's 2022,
Is it?
right?
Oh, sorry, you're talking about... But Miss Marvel and Hawkeye aren't out this year.
They are, yeah.
Hawkeye is, yeah. Is Miss Marvel out this year too?
I've got a thing that says late 2021 for both of them.
Okay.
It says late 2021.
Okay.
And then December 2021 for Spider-Man. I mean, going from 2020 with nothing, I guess they're chock-a-block with 2021.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Which is great for us doing our recording. And at 1 hour and 15, I think that's a good place to wrap up. If anybody has any final thoughts.
I think last week in the podcast we said we were talking about like the multiverses and time travel, and they haven't really done that before. Where they did, because I was talking to my brother and he's like, no, because I think he listened to the podcast, and then I was talking to my brother and he was like, oh no, they did time travel, and I had forgotten about it. Maybe you guys, I certainly forgot about it.
I think we were talking about how time travel in the X-Men world annoys me because it creates these knots of threads that basically are roadblocks and fucking landmines for anybody getting into the world of it. It just becomes this mess that you have to keep track of, and invariably that they need to straighten out. And it is a complaint I have for Infinity War and Endgame. I can't fault it fucking worked, and that's grand, but it's a dangerous thing to get into too much time travel.
Yeah, of course.
It just creates narrative knots.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
figure out where the fuck Loki is.
Yeah.
I mean, if we really want to get into it, how the fuck did the Hulk get to that garbage part of the universe at the end of Age of Ultron? That's a wonderful Deus Ex Machina. His atmosphere-based Quinjet just flew into another.
His very Earth-based vehicle somehow got sucked off to a very faraway planet.
Cosmic energy. Cosmic radiation.
Not a lick of sense, but let's just fucking go with it, you know? Unless they want to tell us it's an effective Loki. You know, we get into the Loki series and find out something fucking weird happened there and he bumped him off into...
I don't know how much of the stuff you've seen from Love and Thunder set photos, but it's got a distinctly 80s vibe, and so does the title. Is there some timeline multiverse shenanigans going on there? Because it looks very, very 80s. And is Loki setting up some version of that, you know, where Thor arrives on Earth in the 80s instead?
I haven't seen a huge amount. I've seen Thor in the vest.
The vest and the jeans. Very 80s.
I've seen Hemsworth in the vest. Yeah. But there's a bit...
He's very Fabio in that, like, it's...
There's a bit in my head of, like... Is that the Peter Quill makeover from being on the Guardians ship, though? Do you know what I mean? Because Peter Quill left Earth in the 80s, you know?
Yeah.
That's his... Like, that could just be the side effect of hanging around with Quill. But on that note, I shall go get my stonewashed.
I want to see you with a bleached hair next time I see you.
Bleached hair, okay, yeah. And
You've got the length. You just need
it's
the blonde.
getting a
now.
bit fucking disastrous. Basically.
It's glorious.
What?
It's glorious. Just blonde it up.
Thank you, everybody, for coming along to another episode of this podcast. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 3. Brian, what were your thoughts on James Gunn again?
He stinks. Big creep. Big dirty creep.